I would hate to ruin this touching moment.
Everyone turned to Marion, who hadn't moved away from his spot at the door. With a bored expression, he pointed at the clock.
But the customers are coming in about half an hour.
Right, and there are some new schedules we need now Spring's with us.
Freddy nodded to Marion and turned to the eager hare. Now that Freddy thought about it, they hadn't fully introduced their customers to the golden-colored animatronics.
I think it's about time people got to know you.
You think they still remember us?
Goldie asked with sadness in his red eyes. It had been so long since the last time he and Spring were stars and even part of any show. He wasn't sure that people would remember them anymore. That wouldn't really bother him, but what would bother him was if people began mistaking them as a golden-colored Bonnie and Freddy.
Of course they do!
Spring smiled, optimistic as always.
And if not, we're sure as heck gonna show them!
That's the spirit.
Freddy smiled as he turned to his older brother. Goldie was frowning a little, but it faded away when the younger bear told him with an incredibly sincere voice.
I really want people to know about the two of you.
We all do.
Chica pointed out and glanced down to Foxy, who nodded in agreement and added cheerfully,
No one shall be forgotten anymore.
Bonnie, on the other hand, well, he wasn't exactly thrilled knowing that they might share the restaurant and spotlight with their former replacements. Unlike the others, he still had a chip on his shoulder from that time.
Does that mean we'll have the toys to join us as well?
He asked the others and didn't even try to hide his annoyance that he did not fancy the younger and back then more toy-formed replacements of them. These newer animatronics got the name the Toys from the mechanics because of their shiny plastic covers back when they were first built. In a former location of Fazbear Entertainment, the toys replaced the gang in the shows, while Bonnie and his three friends got thrown into parts and service and used for parts. Something Bonnie still hadn't gotten over.
Who are the toys?
Spring's question snapped Bonnie out from his annoyance, and he first now realized that neither Spring nor Goldie knew about the toys. Well, Goldie saw them when the staff that upgraded them came with them to the storehouse, but this was the first time Spring was hearing about them.
They're just some new animatronics. A bunch of annoying bots, actually.
Bonnie brushed him off and groaned, annoyed as Spring lit up in happiness hearing they had new family members.
Where are they?
Spring asked eagerly, even looking around the room for these new animatronics.
They aren't repaired just yet.
Marion replied and pointed to the parts in service.
The move did cause them some damage, but I am working on them as fast as I can.
The hare blinked over those words.
Shouldn't a mechanic do that?
Well, Marion is our mechanic.
Freddy told the hare, which only confused Spring more. Goldie gave the hare a friendly clap on the shoulders.
I'll explain later, alright?
You better.
Spring smiled with a mental note that he would keep bugging Goldie about this strange change from Marion suddenly being their mechanic until the Golden Bear would tell him. Speaking of change, he couldn't wait to get back in the show.
When will me and Fredbear be introduced? Oh, can't wait to get back to work.
Spring said with such an excitement that he easily could have been mistaken for a child. Except he was a 2-meter tall robot that still hadn't gotten fully used to his limbs' new functions, and that caused him to almost ruin one of the tables.
Sorry about that.
Bonnie turned his eyes down to Foxy, remarking dryly,
Alright, I take back your excitement as destructive. Spring beat you in it.
Coming from your mouth, I take that as a compliment.
The others began laughing, except for Marion. He just made a facepalm. Goldie stopped his laughing first, wondering out loud.
Don't people already know me? I've helped Chica in the kitchen these past few days.
Spring got on his feet again, once again calmed down, but only because his excitement was replaced with confusion from Goldie's words.
What are you doing in the kitchen?
He has been helping me. We still don't have any waitresses.
Chica explained to the hare, but that only made Spring even more confused.
Wait, what?
Maybe Spring could help. Then, after the introduction, he can play with the kids.
Goldie suggested to Freddy, and after a moment of thought, Freddy nodded in agreement.
Sounds good.
Guys?
Spring began whining with a bit of emphasis on the childish tone.
Oh, you are confusing me! Please tell me what is going on!
Chica began laughing. Considering he was an adult, she found Spring's childish whining rather amusing.
Spring sounds like a child.
I didn't know it before now, but you can be more annoying than before.
Bonnie growled and held his hands over his ears as he glared at the hare. more so when Spring returned the glare with a wide, goofy grin that just challenged Bonnie to return the favor. Goldie simply raised a brow at Spring, but chose to keep out of this. He had been hanging around the hair long enough to know that Spring can easily take Bonnie on when it comes to pranks. Before the two long-eared animatronics would go into a full prank war with one another, Freddy got Spring's attention by explaining to him that they, the animatronics, actually had command over this place, and thus their duty was to keep people happy and run the restaurant properly. Spring would love to hear how that happened, but just explaining that to Spring had already taken up their remaining time, so Goldie promised Spring he would give the whole story after closing hours. The restaurant opened its doors for the day, and in a matter of minutes they already got several customers. Freddy and Bonnie provided the music. Foxy kept the few children that were inside entertained, while their parents would order the food from Chica. Inside the kitchen, Goldie explained to Spring what his new job would require from him. Hopefully this job would only last for a couple of weeks.
For now, me and Chica need your help giving people the food they've ordered.
Spring nodded, although feeling unsure that he could fulfill that new task properly. He would never do such a thing back when he and Goldie were last in the show, and the time before that. But that couldn't really help him either. He shouldn't think about that now.
Alright. How do I know who wants what?
He asked, mostly just to keep his mind off those disturbing realizations. Goldie did notice Spring was acting a lot more unsure than he usually would, but he merely thought it was because of the new job Spring was tasked with. When Chica had finished warming the pizza, she handed it to Goldie, who in turn showed Spring the label beside the warm pizza. On the label was a table number and the names of the food on it. Goldie explained how the restaurant system worked, assuring Spring with every word.
Not sure I understand, but alright.
Goldie got his own plate of ordered pizza and smiled to Spring.
Just follow my lead.
The Golden Bear went to one of the tables where a small family sat and asked what each member had ordered. He then gave them the right plates. Spring watched the whole deal very intensely, not wanting to mess this up. When he was sure how to do it, he read the label on his plate and went to the table, asking what each person had ordered, and gave each plate to the right human. On the scene, Bonnie and Freddy played their usual welcome music, both happily watching their older brothers delivering the food to the guests. After a couple of hours, and with a lot more people inside the building, Freddy decided it was time to introduce the two golden animatronics to the public.
I would like to introduce two of our family. Many of you have already seen them.
He gestured to Goldie and Spring.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Fredbear.
Greetings, everyone!
Goldie gave the surrounded people a polite bow, smiling down to the beaming children before him.
And Spring.
Hiya!
Spring said happily out to the dining room, and in his eagerness to welcome himself, he almost dropped the plates he held. He did say them at the last second with a whoops and grinned sheepishly. The many humans laughed along with him, touched by his innocent charm. The hare gave the food to the right people, and noticed the parent's child looking wide-eyed at him. He opened his mouth to greet her, but suddenly her face was replaced by another child, covered in blood and eyes wide in pure terror.
You are the monster here, Springtrap.
Spring pulled away from her, frightened by the vision and the reminder he got in that horrible place. The girl got quite surprised by him, jerking away, for she had been trying to touch him. He gave her a weak smile,
Enjoy your pizza!
and quickly left, trying to convince himself that what happened wasn't true. He didn't do that. It was that man who did that horrible thing. After he finished the deliveries, Goldie suggested he should go out and interact a little with the children. Spring went out to play with the kids, yet the visions of the bloody children before his feet did not go away. He did his best hiding it, but he didn't dare let the children touch him. For what if he would harm them? So he went over to Foxy and invited the children to play with both of them, although he made sure he kept a distance and let Foxy get most of the attention. Freddy watched Spring play with the kids, smiling and being all around cheerful, exactly how he remembered him.
I'm surprised he hasn't changed.
He remarked to Bonnie, his eyes saddened of the memories of where both Spring and Goldie had been in the past 10 years.
Considering where he's been all these years.
Bonnie gave Freddy a look that the bear hadn't seen before.
He has changed. This...
Nodding to Spring speaking with 3 kids, yet not doing any movement of touching them like giving out hugs, the first warning sign for Bonnie. He knew how much Spring loved hugging the children.
This is just an act.
How do you know?
Freddy blinked. He couldn't see the difference. Understandable, since it had been over a decade since they last saw him. Bonnie watched his brother, seeing that the smile didn't fully reach his ice blue eyes. Behind those eyes was a hidden grief. Bonnie could see it. He just wasn't sure why.
I just do.
And he returned back to playing. Freddy blinked at Bonnie's statement and turned his blue eyes to Spring. Only after Bonnie pointed it out, Freddy noticed that Spring did not fully interact with the children as he did the last time they saw him. He kept his distance, making sure Foxy got most of the attention. Why did he do that? Did something happen in that basement? Besides from Spring acting a little weird, the day went well, and when the last person left, Goldie began explaining to Spring of a human that Freddy and friends considered as their father and the things he had done for them. Spring was admittedly pretty startled that a human would do such a kind thing to them, for barely any human from the company had ever been nice to them. Freddy watched Spring from one of the many tables and pondered what could have happened to Spring in the time between from when he and Goldie were in the basement to the present day. Since Freddy could not really see anything truly unusual from Spring, he decided to ask Foxy about it. Since he didn't want to raise any worry, he instead asked the fox if he had noticed something strange around the Pirate Cove.
Besides from the few rabble between the children, then no.
Foxy said, but Freddy did see the brief hesitation from the fox.
Foxy?
It's nothing.
Foxy smiled to him, but Freddy could see that it wasn't reaching his yellow eyes. Bear crossed his arms, which was a clear sign he wasn't buying the excuse. Foxy hesitated, then looked over at Goldie, who was explaining to Spring about the new upgrades. His eyes landed on Spring for a moment before he turned back to Freddy.
Spring's different.
Bonnie did say the same thing, Freddy thought to himself. Was there really something up with the hair?
How?
I think he's scared of the kids.
Foxy admitted hesitantly to Freddy. Foxy found that thought quite far-fetched himself, but he just couldn't find any other explanation to Spring's odd behavior during the show.
Scared? Why would he be scared?
I don't know, but he does a good job hiding it though.
Foxy remarked and took his hook off. He left Freddy to put the hook into the prop chest in the cove and replaced it with a hand. The hook was only for shows after all. Freddy followed Foxy over to the cove, admitting a bit to his own disappointment that he hadn't seen anything unusual with Spring.
I only took notice when Spring avoided the children and Bonnie pointed it out.
At least that running can be helpful at times. Not that Foxy would ever admit that to Bonnie. He would never hear the end of it if he did. But this wasn't really about Bonnie. It was about Spring, and something was definitely up with the hair. Foxy turned around and met Freddy's blue eyes.
I have never seen him flinch like that before.
That was worrying, but there could be many reasons for that reaction. Maybe he got startled of feeling the hug. Maybe he had gotten so low on being social that he didn't know how to react anymore. Maybe he hurt... No. Spring would never hurt anyone. Freddy gave Foxy a single clap on the shoulder.
It's probably just all new to him. Don't you remember how weird it felt the first time our touch sensors got activated?
Yeah, I did.
Foxy mused and once again glanced to Spring.
It could be the reason.
Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that Spring was scared of something. Something way more sinister than just getting startled by the fact that he could feel someone's touch way better now. But maybe it was just him. Maybe the hair just needed time. But they weren't the only ones who had noticed Spring's flinching. Goldie had too, and when he was out of the other's line of sight and hearing, Goldie asked his friend.
What's bothering you?
Nothing?
Spring lied, looking away.
Spring.
Spring had always been a terrible liar, which meant he most often just said the truth, no matter how hard it could be. So hearing Spring lie was quite unsettling. Goldie hummed softly and sat his paws on the hare's shoulders.
I'm trying to help you.
The hare looked up to him, yet he did not want his best friend to know his secret, the truth of what he had done.
You were a monster.
Spring shook the small voice away and said to the golden bear,
I don't need help!
That was a bit harder than he wanted. But Spring just couldn't share the secret,
Excuse me.
and he left. Goldie blinked, taken by surprise by this sudden aggressive refusal from his friend. It wasn't Bonnie's level of aggressiveness, but it had still been enough to raise several red flags in Goldie's mind.
Spring. What has happened to you?
Later that night, Goldie spoke with Freddy about this issue, and they both discussed if they should try to press the truth out from Spring, or just to leave him be. The sudden aggressive behavior truly worried the golden bear. However, they chose to leave him be with his hidden problem, as he showed no signs of getting more aggressive over the passing days. Spring was thankful the others let the subject drop, for he wasn't sure if he could tell them the truth he had discovered in that place. Why he became what he feared when he realized he wasn't really who he thought he was, why young Bonnie was so scared of him, and why he kept seeing small children dead on the floor.
I was placed inside the parts and service room, as I needed repairs. I did find it annoying, and would prefer being out in the restaurant playing with the kids. Yet I knew I had to wait for the mechanic. The children wouldn't like it if I started glitching mid-performance. I never really liked the parts and service room. It was too small, and I hoped the mechanic would come soon so I could leave this room. The door opened, and a man walked inside. I restrained myself from looking up in my happiness that someone came. Goldie and I knew how easily humans can get scared if we move too much on our own. The mechanic turned to me, taking the purple cap further down over his face. For some reason, he didn't want to show his face, but I didn't really think much about it. I honestly just wanted this man to fix my glitching and let me get back out to the children. To my surprise, the man with the purple cap took out a crank.
I need your help, Golden Bunny.
He mused and began to tighten my special spring-lock skeleton up against my suit. It frightened me greatly, and I knew that every person going inside could get really badly hurt, and deep in my mind, I somehow remembered faint memories of me getting pieced by the spring-locks. But how could I get hurt by my own body? That's just weird. I shook these strange thoughts away and tried warning the stupid mechanic of the spring-lock suit inside of him. I would violate mine and Goldie's rule not to move too much around humans, but at the moment, all I cared about was this human's safety. No. Oh. I cried and tried stopping the man, but the man hit my hand away, musing amused.
Don't be so shy. I'm not a rookie.
And went back to work. I felt helpless. I could do anything but watch the man finish cramping my parts close to my suit, and then climb inside. I let out a robotic noise, the closest thing I could come to a whimper. The man either didn't hear or wouldn't hear my discomfort in this. The human inside of me took me out to the party room, and I would have been happy being out here if it wasn't for the fact that I couldn't move on my own. Goldie turned around and noticed me. He waved, and the man inside me forced me to wave at my bear friend.
Yeah. Hi, Fredbear.
Goldie then returned back to his own duties, and the man inside of me went to a little flock of children, all four of them standing around the new edition of animatronics. A brown bear, a purple bunny, a yellow chicken, and a pirate fox. However, none of them ever left the stage like I and Goldie often did. This bunch barely reacted on anything, much to my confusion. But we didn't really think too much about it. The man inside me did glance up to the four animatronics, then looked down to the group of children that hung around the four animatronics. One of them, a boy with light brown curly hair, and being rather broad-shouldered for someone for his age, jumped onto the scene and reached out for the dark brown bear I had heard several of the mechanics call Freddy.
Sean, you're not supposed to be up there.
The broad-shouldered boy, apparently the one named Sean, looked back as another boy, this one with plain brown hair and gray-blue eyes, said with slightly scared eyes. The man turned inside of me, which made my head turn to them, watching the children, not knowing if I was as well watching. Although I would have titled my head in wonder if I could.
Relax, Mikey.
Another boy, this one rather tall, having chestnut-colored hair and green eyes filled with mischief.
Let Sean touch the stupid teddy bear.
Freddy's not stupid.
The boy with curly hair, obviously named Sean, said rather seriously, and I could not help but find it strange that such a young child already was acting so adult.
He's the leader of the band.
And who told you that?
The tall boy asked with a huge smirk over his young face. He glanced to the only girl of the bunch, who said in a cheerful matter of fact,
Freddy did, of course.
She giggled and whacked the tall boy playfully.
Yeah.
And then removed one of her dirty blonde bangs away from her gray-colored eyes. The tall boy looked away with a red face. Of what I wasn't sure. I often had trouble understanding why humans react the way they do.
Whatever.
Actually, the woman who served us food told me.
The curly-haired boy said deadpan to the two, then turned back to the singing bear.
And I kinda like him.
The boy turned to his friends and asked, with almost beaming eyes,
Who do you like?
"Oh good, this boy does still know how to act like one his age."
The pirate!
Both the brown-haired boy that had warned the boy named Sean and the smallest of them said at the same time. They looked at one another and began laughing. The girl tilted her head at the two.
Why am I not surprised?
Who do you like, Jenna?
Chica!
Is it because she's the only girl?
The tall boy asked cheekily, and the girl playfully stuck out her tongue at him.
Maybe.
What about you, Tim?
Sean asked the tall boy, whose name was apparently Tim, crossed his arms, looking away. It reminded me of younger kids when their parents told them it was time to leave.
I don't have any.
Yes, he has.
The girl beamed and laughed as she jumped away from Tim, who was angrily trying to get her to shut up.
Who is it?
Theront asked, and even he was almost half as big than the other boy. He did not flinch from the taller boys, glare, or use angry words.
None of your business, Daniel.
Is it the chicken? It would fit you.
The small boy, or Daniel, said grinning.
No!
Hey!
The girl Jenna frowned at the smallest boy. Daniel quickly hid behind Sean.
No offense.
The man inside me began walking over to the group, and for a moment, I had completely forgotten that I had someone inside of me. But again, to my discomfort, the man made me move towards the group he made me eavesdrop on. The kids didn't notice us, too busy guessing the tall boy's favorite animatronic.
What about Foxy?
Are you kidding? I hate dogs.
It's Bonnie!
No.
The tall boy shook his head, but it wasn't as strong as the other times he had said no. He shot a glare to the smallest of the group when he began laughing hysterical.
You like the girl, Bunny?
Bonnie is a boy.
And a rock star!
The brown-haired boy added, pointing at the prop guitar in the bunny's hands. The broad-shouldered kid hummed for a moment, then said to the one named Tim,
Ah, so that's why you like him. You both love music.
Tim nodded slowly with a rather somber face, although it was quickly replaced with a smirk when the curly-haired boy remarked,
I like music too, though I prefer singing.
We know, you sang the whole way up here.
and the others began laughing. Sean didn't seem to mind, though.
Hi there.
The 5 kids turned around, staring confused at me, and the man inside of me.
You enjoy the show?
Oui. Although, I think you should change the songs.
The curly-haired boy remarked. Again, I found him way too mature compared to his young age.
They're getting tired singing the same songs all the time.
Then you can sing.
Je ne veux pas être embarrassé.
Speak English, Sean.
The girl rolled her eyes of the 2 boys. She, the other 2 boys, and the others turned back to me as the man inside of him said,
Yes. The song can get tiresome. You know what?
The man made me kneel down before the small group.
Since you are such a bunch of smart kids, I think you all need a reward.
What kind of reward?
The brown-haired boy asked with his brow raised. The man inside me chuckled and said, teasing to him,
That's a secret, but I can show you.
He rose and went to one of the storerooms, turning to the curious kids.
Do you want to see?
I'm not sure.
The curly-haired boy, or Sean, mused, looking uncertain.
You do know children cannot follow strangers.
Little suspicious shit.
The man sneered behind my mask. I gave the man an angry look for using such a foul word in front of the children. I doubt he saw it, though. The man then said cheerfully to the children,
It'll be worth it. Come on.
and he took the curly-haired boy's hand and dragged him into the room. The boy did struggle a little, feeling more uncertain. But with him leaving, the rest followed, just as the man had hoped. Inside the storeroom, and all the children inside, the man let go of the boy, and the runt said, beginning with a shaking voice,
Something is not right.
Oh, right you are.
The man began laughing, reached inside my suit, and took something shiny out. I didn't know what it was, but it sure as heck scared the kids. The man went over to them.
You see, the reward is for you giving me a little fun.
The girl began sobbing uncontrollably, like the rest, knowing what the man was doing. I didn't. All I knew was that they were scared, and I tried making the man stop, but I just couldn't in my current state. I wished I could though, for suddenly, the man grabbed the tall boy and said into his ears,
Scream as much as you will. Let's see if Mommy and Daddy can hear you.
And the shiny object went into the boy's chest. His friends began screaming and crying. The boy who got stabbed just screamed. The man laughed and threw the boy onto the floor.
Music to my ears.
You monster!
The boy with the curly hair roared and jumped at him, but the man easily threw him into a wall. And the brown-haired boy and only girl ran over to him.
Sean!
The runt tried as well, but was stopped as the man grabbed his neck, and as the boy turned to look at him, the man cut right through his throat. I stared at the blood splatter around the boy's neck and face, eyes wide in mere terror, a sight that burned into my memory disk. The man let him go, and the boy fell onto the floor. Unlike the first that got stabbed, the smaller boy wasn't moving anymore. I wanted to help the two on the floor, but the man wouldn't let me. He made me move to the girl and stopped her screaming by stabbing her right into the chest. She landed on the floor, wheezing for air. The man made me look at the two remaining boys.
Only 2 left. Such a shame.
The man grinned, taking the brown-haired boy, completely ignoring him flailing around in hope to escape.
I should have invited more.
He sat the blade against the boy's throat. But before he could make the cut, I felt something hit against my back. It didn't hurt, but it did startle the man, and he let go of the kid.
Run, Mike!
And the kid ran as fast as he could towards the door. The man inside me tried to stop him, but the curly-haired boy grabbed my feet, and that gave the boy just enough time to get out of the room and away from the man's grasp.
You little brat!
The man roared and took the curly-haired boy, making him look right into my scared eyes, which the boy returned.
Look what you made me do!
And the boy let out a pained grunt as the shiny thing got embedded into his side. The man inside of me then threw the bleeding boy down beside his friends. The runt haven't been moving since he got thrown onto the floor. I did notice the girl and the tall boy not far from her still made small twitches. I turned my eyes to the tall boy, noticing he was staring up to me and the man. No, monster inside of me. Then that boy made one last sound, and he stopped moving as well, eyes frozen in his last horror. Not long after the curly-haired boy and the girl stopped moving as well. For the first time since my awakening, I felt cold. I wish I would never feel again. The man inside of me cursed and made me pick up the smallest of the children.
Now I have to hurry.
He kicked the curly-haired boy on his way deeper into the room, like the rest, no longer moving.
Blasted brat.
He carried the children into a hidden room, threw them onto the floor like trash. I wanted to help them, but I couldn't. I just couldn't stop the man. Then the man took me back to the parts and service, occasional cursing of the brown-haired boy getting away. And I did spot the kid. He was surrounded by what could be assumed to be his parents. The man cursed again, not sounding happy about this, and threw me onto the floor like he did to those kids.
At least he won't know who his friend's killer is. And it's not like you could tell.
I wish I could I wish he could tell. Someone! Anyone about those poor children being trapped inside that room. I wanted to tell them that I didn't mean letting this happen. The man made me do it. It wasn't my fault.
Spring muttered in a small corner inside the storage room, hiding himself, and in some sense, his memories of that fateful day away from his family. He kept telling himself that, but he couldn't deny the fact that he let the man use his body. He had unwillingly, but still helped him carry out this act. So in some sense, it was his fault.